Good evening. This is Ken Long from Tortoise Capital with an extended case study. This one is looking at 3 days in the Tortoise chat room from July 15th through July 17th. Let's start with the 15th. In all of these case studies, we're using a standard markup. These are generally going to be on 3-minute charts. The blue shaded area is going to be the 30-period Bollinger Band, plus or minus 1 standard deviation, which is the river. The shaded blue area is going to be plus or minus 2 Bollinger Bands. That's the light blue area. We're going to be using bar charts, and this orange area is a 2-period Bollinger Band. Looks like a rib. We call that the ribbon. This red line is the 30-period simple moving average, the middle of the river. The green line is a 90-period regression line. Black line is a 30-period regression line. That's the slow. And then the fast regression line is the blue line. Purple line is the VWAP, volume weighted average price. Green circles are buys. Red circles are sells. Blue circles are timelines of interest. Vertical blue line is when either I'm stalking it or a change in state. This one, so this was the close last Friday. This was the close, the open Monday morning. Gap up and started selling off. Price came down to the edge of the river, finds support, starts taking back off. The ribbon is moving up, so we do a regression line crossover in XIV. This is the inverse VIX. Entry at 23.75 with an initial stop of that's about 15 cents, but I'm using 20-cent initial stop, so a little bit further south. It moves out to the edge of the floodplain and starts taking off. I think it's going to get through the swing high here of the ribbon at 57.30. I want to be positioned in front of that with 2 positions, and I have a third entry planned at 57.33 if it takes it out, because then I believe it's really going to go. And then if it gets above this purple line at the intraday high, I think it'll really go. So it's moving out in my favor. Excuse me. This is TNA. So this is parallel, a parallel trade. The previous one was XIV. At the same time, we're trading long the Russell 2000 triple inverse. So we get this one at 56.91 with a 20-cent stop. About 3 minutes later, it's moving out. I like it, so I get it at 57.15. So that's a little over 1 hour in hand with some momentum, leaving the floodplain. I move to no lose, and now what I want to have is 2 positions in hand in case it breaks through here, and then that's going to be a big trade. So we've got 2 positions open with 3 bullets in. TNA, however, doesn't break through. It rolls over. I want to get paid, so we exit everything at 57.22. Ended up giving some money back, so that's like a 0.9 R. Actually, that's a little better than that. But we'll take that an R after some slippage. XIV, on the other hand, moved out. We took our second entry here at 23.96 with the 20-cent stop. You can see that we moved our stop up, and now we're paralleling the 30-period regression line out here in the middle of the floodplain. That's a nice place to be. I can see that the fast regression line and the slow regression line are getting ready to meet out here, and so after a swing high, couldn't make a new high, started the sell-off. I go ahead and take this one at 24 even for a 1.4 R. I like getting paid in the morning. Later that morning, TNA on a continuation pattern, it pulled back, found support at the river. So we start stalking it here. This looks like sideways quiet channel developing. We get the slope of the river is flattening out. The Bollinger Bands are pinching. Both regression lines and the price are inside the river. That's the definition of sideways quiet channel. So now we stalk it here. We get the entry at 57.32 with a 15-cent stop below the Bollinger Band mean and above the VWAP. It takes off and moves in our direction pretty quickly, so we take the second entry at 57.66. That's almost 2 hour in hand, and then we get that to no lose right here at the edge of the river, edge of the floodplain. Excuse me. We end up, it ends up cashing out shortly thereafter. It moved up to 57.35 and pulled back. Couldn't follow through any further, and that's where we get the a couple 1.5 hour out of that one. The regression line crossover outside the river occurs right here. We wouldn't be surprised if it gets back to the Bollinger Band mean, which it does. Then it starts taking off again after finding support. I buy it as it leaves the river here at 57.32. So we're buying it back just above where we sold it off before. It rests on the edge of the river. Notice the Bollinger Band pinch. It takes off again. We get our second entry at 57.66. Moves up outside of the river, then trails sideways, comes back to the edge of the river, get in this spike down out of the ribbon, get my exit at 57.65 for 2R net out of that trade box. It bounces right after we sold it, but it never really makes much more of a high. We get another regression line crossover, comes back into the river once more, finds support just north of the Bollinger Band mean. So take this entry here. There's a this 3-bar pattern I really like. Get the entry at 57.65 with a 20-cent stop just below the Bollinger Band mean. It exits on the edge of the river for a fractional win. Things are continuing to look pretty good. And that was July 15th. July 16th, we get the opening here. It sells off sharply. Now we're looking at XIV. I got this morning hook looking pattern here. The ribbon gets outside of the floodplain, so I consider that an extreme. I like this here. So we got 1, 2, 3 little bars of uptick. I buy this one at 23.96. Regression line crossover occurs right after that. You can go ahead and wait to see the ribbon enter the river and buy the next couple bars if you want, but I felt strongly enough about this one to go. We've had a nice bull run along, so I'm trying to front run that. I've got an initial target of the Bollinger Band mean. I want to see what it does over there, and hopefully it'll get to the far side. It gets to the Bollinger Band mean, mucks around a little while, then starts failing. I buy the regression line, or I sell the regression line crossover exit here for a fractional. I am prepared to go short at a new low of the day, which it does shortly thereafter. And so we would stop and reverse right here, and we would be executing in UVXY or VXX rather than shorting XIV. This is that trade now going along the inverse. We're using UVXY. We buy it as it leaves the river at 48.50 with a 30-cent stop below the Bollinger Band mean. We dial up to look at a 2-hour chart because we were at the end of a really strong bull move, and we've been anticipating maybe some profit taking and some market weakness. When we looked at this on the 2-hour chart, what we had was an extended downward move in UVXY corresponding with the bull move that had found support here north of 47.50. And so the first entry was at 48.50, and then shortly thereafter, with 2R in hand and momentum, we get 49.10. On the 2-hour chart, what I'm looking for is a intraday move back up to the Bollinger Band mean at 52, which is feasible in UVXY, and then I just mark off a couple other spots that I think it could get to if we actually have a market reversal here and a 5 to 8% pullback, and the S&P would start engaging some of these different targets. So dialing back in to UVXY, now we're taking a look at 10-minute charts, and there was some discussion about how can you judge the width of the river. So you can look at the Bollinger Band width, and you can see how during this period of sideways quiet channel, it had gotten very, very narrow on the Bollinger Band. And the breakout at 48.50 in UVXY, which is why we bought it here, on the 3-minute charts, but on the 10-minute charts, you can really clearly see it leaving the river and moving out smartly. So this was where our entry was on 3-minute charts, leaving SQC on the 10-minute charts, and that corresponded with this extended sideways period as well. And now UVXY is getting ready to move out after almost 10 days of just downward pressure. This turns out to be a whale. We're back on 3-minute charts here again. Here's the 48.50. Here's 49.10. This is the second position, leaving the floodplain. 2R in hand with momentum. Pulls back, finds support at the edge of the river, immediately takes off again. Third position at 49.50 with a 30-cent stop. Fourth position and all in at $50 even. And then this runaway move right here. Up in this space, it had gotten weak and started to reverse. So I took 3/4 off at 50.60, and then this went up as high as 50.80, but then started to sell off sharply. So I got rid of the fourth position, also at 50.60 for a net of 15R on those four positions. So the first day of volatility after a long, extended, quiet, bullish move can do that with UVXY or VXX. After that 15R move here, now we're looking at an extended move, and I'm thinking, well, let's take a look at the inverse and see what's going on. So this was that total of about a 17R trade, or 15, I can't remember, 15 or 17R in UVXY. This is what that same move looked like in XIV. So it finds support at the ribbon outside of the floodplain. There's the regression line crossover occurring here. It finds the edge of the river, pulls back, finds support, and now starts taking off again. I buy the second leg up here at 23.50 with a 0.2 initial stop. I'm looking for a target at the midpoint of the river or the far side of the river, which would be a nice trade. And we end up cashing an R on that one. Now later in this day, this was that move in UVXY all the way up to 50.60. It pulls back, finds support north of the Bollinger Band mean. Here's the swing low. We got a higher low, a second higher low. So I go ahead and buy this one at 50.17. That's this pattern, this little standard flash card. A really nice move, an orderly pullback to a swing low with a higher low green candle, and then a second candle with a higher low that takes out this first green candle's high. That's an automatic buy. That's what this one is right here at 50.17. About 10 minutes later, we get to no lose as price is leaving the river. And that's we get a second entry here at 2R in hand plus momentum. By the third position here, about 3 minutes later, we get that one to no lose, and shortly after moving that up to 51, this rolled over and exited out here. So we get increment in and then everything out at 3.5R. So that's the 16th of July, 17th July, later in the day. Oh no, I'm sorry, we're still on 16th July. Okay, so this one's in the afternoon. 16th was a busy day. I was reading ahead on the slides. This is that XIV move where we entered here vicinity the sell-off. Regression line crossover, buy on price entering the river, hoping for the far side of the river. We get that and it starts moving out, so we just move this up into position, keep tracking it all the way up. That's this in context. Same trade. And now we end up cashing a couple R out of that one. On the 17th, Wednesday, I'm trading on 1 minute right here. I want to dial in and work it on my shorter time frame. Gap up, sells off gently to the Bollinger Band mean, finds support north of the southern edge of the river. I treat that as a morning hook because it never came down and closed, but instead starts taking off. So I like this one after a low, a higher low, and finding support at the mean, and now the river is up. Doesn't look like it wants to fail. So we buy that one at 57.46 with a 0.2 initial stop. It works in our favor. We get the regression line crossover, find support at the mean. I buy the second position at 57.60. I normally wait for 2 R in hand plus momentum, but my feeling was if it gets above this zone right here that it could really go. This is the day after a really volatile move and sell-off. That's the previous day was 17 or 20 R in UVXY. Now this is failure to fail further, and now the TNA is starting to rebound. So I'm thinking this may be going up. So I get the third position as the ribbon leaves the river, and I get 3 positions in place. And if it breaks through this resistance here, this first 10 minutes, I feel like it can really go. So we're at no lose right now with our stop up in here. Shortly after that third position, it just takes off and starts running. We get the fourth bullet in at 58, everything with a 0.2 initial stop, and off it goes, and we're just tracking and stalking the exit right now. So we're all in with 4 positions. Shortly after this little doji, it rolls over, and we take everything off at 58.24 for a total of 10.5 R on this leg up. Net for all positions. Later that morning, we see a regression line crossover here in XIV. Price enters the river. This could have been bought on support at the main, but we end up buying it here on price leaving the river. Shortly thereafter, you get the 30 period of regression line leaving the river. This is the beginning of trending behavior. So we get the first one at 23.90 with a stop below the Bollinger Band mean. Second position at 24.02, another 10% stop. We exit in an orderly fashion out here, vicinity the regression line crossover. Exit all at 24.10, and that's about 2.5, almost 3 R on that one. Later that day, FAS, that's the triple financials. It was the strongest sector all day. I noticed a low, 1, 2, 3 higher lows. The ribbon and the river are up. Price is now well out of the river. We get this surge up, pulls back, finds support at the edge of the river. I buy it at 73.65, a 20-cent stop below the ribbon swing low. Get to no lose up in here. It exits shortly thereafter, however, rolled over and just didn't get in that one early enough. Now we made. We were interested in Tesla because of some work we've done with people at the over the weekend, and this is on a daily chart. You can see how it's just exploded out of SQC on a daily basis, and then made a huge sell-off on Friday, or I mean on Tuesday, excuse me, and this is Wednesday. And Wednesday gapped down and then is just rocketing way back up, and that's what it looks like on the daily chart. So we were prepared for a vigorous move in either direction after that sharply volatile move. And so on 2-hour charts, which is something I really like for swing trading, you can see this was that sharp sell-off that took it way down on the daily. On the 2-hour, you can see how that little spike out of the floodplain that was unaccompanied by the price ribbon was sort of an early warning for this sell-off. But what we saw then was on the 2-hour charts, the ribbon and great big spike all the way out of the floodplain on the downside, and then the reversal gets to be very interesting. The 4-hour trade we make today, that we'll see on the next one, is contained in this little blue circle, but you can see that there was room for even more for the agile trader, and what we're looking at on this swing is at least a return to the previous price levels, far side of the river. If it gets above the ribbon swing at 131, then I think it's off and running once more, and this would have just shaken out the loose hands and collected up some inventory for market makers. So the actual trade in Tesla today was a core and turbo. We saw the sideways quiet channel develop. We buy it here at 117 with a $1 stop below the swing low of the ribbon. It moves up smartly. I missed the second entry here, which was a takeout of this swing high after finding support well north of the river. And then as we get close to the close, go ahead and sell 4/5 of the turbo and keeping 1/5 of the position overnight. And so on the turbo, that's a 4-hour trade on 4/5 of the position, which funds the overnight trade. So that's 3 days in the chat room. Lots of things going on. You can see it was basically a long day, a short day, then back on a long day with targeted symbols and taking into account the volatility of the market and trading that volatility, but then generally just staying with the big indexes, although in the case of Tesla we were able to make a special case. So that's an extended case study. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for hanging in there. It's been a pretty good week so far. Take good care, keep your risk measured and your powder dry.